to the public policy of Toastmasters International, as well as an associated remote hosting service. Some of your personal information, such as name, image, and any shared messages will be recorded. Your remote attendance hereby discharges Toastmasters International and Leadership Speak and all of its members from all claims, demands, rights, promises, damages, and liabilities arising out of the connection with the use or distribution of said video recordings, including but not limited to any claims of invasion of privacy, appropriation of likeness, or defamation. Our club mission entails that we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Thank you. Leadership Speak is a premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused on primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Our timer has a virtual hand raised so we can immediately see who is keeping the time. Today, we have a different meeting. Just for our visitors, we have a training session which will be conducted by our very own founder, Brahm. And to this, I will read his introduction. Our trainer this morning is Brahm. He's a powerhouse of leadership and mastery, the founder of Leadership Speak, a 3-time distinguished Toastmaster, and the driving force behind our culture of excellence. He believes feedback isn't about fluff, it's about fueling growth and building extraordinary leaders. Today's training focuses on structure, audience takeaway, construction, and transitions, the 4 pillars of powerful evaluation that elevate every speaker and every club. Please welcome our founder and master coach, Brahm, DTM.
Thank you, Joyce Kibe, for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, critical thinking is not something that we take very lightly. We train rigorously on an ongoing basis as to what really is critical thinking. Now, why critical thinking? Why do I call it critical thinking? And why is it important for an advanced Toastmasters club? Or even if you've been a Toastmaster in a community club for many years, you really need to know some advanced techniques and thinking as to what really makes a speech come alive and there's an audience takeaway at the end. We always hear that the world champions of public speaking, they have their own story, right? It is very simplified. It has a structure. There's great transitions. But at the end, at least for 45 seconds to a minute, they spend on, what about you, audience? What's your takeaway? How can you use this, what I have learned in your life? Have you noticed that, right? All the time. In any situation out in the real world, it is always about the audience. So as advanced speakers and evaluators at Leadership Speak, it is the standard to think critically. At Leadership Speak, we raise the bar by focusing not only on the delivery, but the architecture of the presentation, how we've constructed the speech, what was the thinking process behind it, and how will it unfold as we go along. The agenda will be, if it's not already been posted, if somebody can post the agenda in the chat for our guests and our members as well, especially our guests, that'd be great. Thank you very much. So here's the thing. Always, like I've just said, always an advanced evaluator doesn't simply listen. They dissect, they analyze the moving parts, And what are they really looking for? They're looking for, at the end, how much time did the speaker spend on the audience's takeaway? Now, I know that in community clubs, at the end, the speaker might introduce one line. And what about you, the audience? What are you thinking about this? One line, like 5 seconds, maybe 10. That is not audience takeaway. We don't consider that as audience takeaway here. The audience takeaway is really taking what you said, whether it's a story, whether it's a concept, or whether you're delivering at the boardroom level, or whether you're delivering a keynote to 1,000 people. At the end, the audience should be very clear. I learned something, I was informed, I was instructed, I got inspired, I got persuaded, or I got entertained, and this is my takeaway. It has to be a clear call to action. Did every element of the speech drive towards this? Which means when you begin a speech, what do you think about first? The first thing you think about is, what is going to be the audience's takeaway today? What am I standing here and speaking about? What will the audience take away? Obviously, in this particular training, there is an audience takeaway, right? And there will be, and you will see it. And based on that, there's a structure, there's a speech or this presentation even, follow with precision from the title, the opening, to the conclusion. And how did I even start today? And how did I construct the rest of the presentation, whether it's a 7-minute speech or a 45-minute presentation, were the ideas layered intentionally and leading the audience step by step with clarity and conviction, leading to why the audience was here. And if it is a professional presentation out in the real world, they said, thank goodness, yeah, that every $500 was worth it. People pay a lot of money to go to keynotes, right? And of course, if you're working for an organization, your organization is vested in you delivering a message that makes a difference and an impact. So, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, right? I've already talked about these 3 things. Okay, so we have some very important people in our midst. This is our fireplace. This is a Leadership Speaks fireplace. And we have some very important people that I want you to gather around this fire with me. You are our guests. So we have a lot of guests here today. Now I have a very big screen which is very far from me, so I can't see. So let me just peer in here, and we have about 55 people in this room, which means at least 20 to 25 people may be guests. Helene, our PR master, will post the link in the chat for our guests to fill in, because you are the most important people in this presentation today at Leadership Speak. You are our guests. So feel free, sit back as if you're sitting around a fire with me as I take you through this training. It's a rigorous training. Fill in the guest book now if you wish, or fill it in. The link will be posted at appropriate times. Thank you very much. If there's any questions from the guests, please do put it in the chat. And from time to time, if it is a very important question, the Zoom master will call it out for me to answer. Thank you very much for coming to this particular training. Just a little bit about Leadership Speak. Leadership Speak is one of the top clubs globally. Actually, it is the top club globally. Last year, we did over 154 education awards. But it's not the number of awards that makes us the top club. You will see that today's presentation and the training is what I'm talking about, and the quality of our meetings, plus the training that we don't do here on Saturdays, that you, as a guest, you will never see. We do off our Saturday meetings. So if you want to really be trained and get all the material and all that, then you have to become a member. So everything that you see here today is just the tip of the iceberg in our training sessions that we do. Having said that, as well, of course, for the past 3 years, we've been in existence only for 3 years, and every year We've been the top club in the district as well. Club of the year every year. And we get a trophy. And this year we're expecting the trophy too. This year that just ended, we're hoping to get that trophy. We'll see. Having said that, dear guests, please rest, take notes, sit back, enjoy the meeting. Any questions, put it in the chat. Thank you very much for coming today. Having said that, I will now call on my good friend, Sonja Meindl.
Thank you, Brahm.
Sonja, how are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
And are you in Nice, France right now?
Yes, that's correct.
That's about 6 hours away from me. You are going to raise the toast. Over to you, Sonja. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, at Leadership Speak, we believe that evaluation is not merely a formality. It is a defining leadership skill, one that shapes not only how we speak, but how we think. To evaluate with excellence, we must first observe with clarity, listen with curiosity, and respond with purpose. Critical thinking allows us to do exactly that. It transforms a simple evaluation into a thoughtful dialogue, one that builds confidence, nurtures potential, and inspires continuous growth. In many ways, critical thinking is like the lens of a camera. When it is unfocused, the image is blurry and we only see shapes. But when the lens is adjusted with precision, the picture becomes clear and the impact unmistakable. So too in evaluations, clarity of thought helps us capture not just what was said, but what was intended, what can be strengthened, and what truly resonates. When we apply critical thinking, we move from what we like to why it matters, why a message connects, why structure supports meaning, and why delivery shapes credibility. In doing so, we create a culture of leadership where feedback is not a judgment, but a gift. Critical thinking is the bridge between feedback and growth. It is what turns observation into insight and insight into action. Without it, evaluation becomes a checklist, but with it, it becomes a catalyst, shaping leaders who question, adapt, and continually strive for excellence. Today, as we explore and refine the art of evaluation, let us remind ourselves. Our words have the power to encourage, to clarify, and to elevate. Every evaluation we give is an opportunity, not just to improve a speech, but to strengthen our shared standard of excellence. Therefore, please join me in a toast. Please unmute your microphones, turn on your cameras, and raise your glasses. Here is to insight, growth, and excellence.
Here.
Insight, growth, and excellence.
Growth and excellence.
Growth and excellence.
Thank you for participating.
Yes.
Thank you.
Graves and excellent.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Sonja. Critical thinking is like a lens. Are we in focus to bring clarity to the message? Great toast, Sonja. Now, my next role player is going to be the timer, Lydia Wanjiku. Lydia, what are you going to be doing today?
Good day, fellow Toastmasters. I am your timer for today's meeting. I will time each speaker according to the agenda and signal using virtual backgrounds, green, yellow, and red. After each segment, I will post the timing results in the chat. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you very much. And that leads me to the actual training. Today, I'm your trainer. There's no Toastmaster of the day. Rather than have several different roles, we just wanted to save time. I'm the trainer and, of course, begin the meeting for you. And I will preside over most of this meeting. We do have a general evaluator and then panel discussions. The agenda will be posted again, since I can see a number of people have joined since then. So please post the agenda again for those people who've joined late. Thank you. Now, Lydia, if you can start timing me for the trainer part right now, and I'll start my timer over here as well. So thank you. And let me just get my technology right so that you can see it all happening. There's something not quite right in my technology today, because I can see at the top your leadership speak. Just ignore it. It's not easy to adjust that at this point in time. So just watch the slides, and my notes will appear here for you and for us to follow, as well as we will be doing a poll and some handouts as well. So ladies and gentlemen, evaluations. Now, I'm going to talk about the difference between the basics and the advanced. You know, I've been a Toastmaster for over 30 years. I've been a member of more than a dozen clubs over those 30 years. And currently, of course, a member of an advanced club. The only advanced club that I've ever been a member of. I created the club. Now, and why did I create the club is that I find that in the community club, people are just starting out. And after 30 years of just starting out, you want to do something else, right? You just don't start out. So I created this advanced Toastmasters club so that we could go beyond the basics to the more advanced level. In a community club, most clubs don't go through this rigorous training. And so there's a glass ceiling that happens for most of the people. I visit a lot of clubs. I get invited to a lot of clubs. And I see speakers who've been around for 5, 10, 15 years, and they have this glass ceiling, and they're evaluating the same way that they evaluated 10 years ago. Right? Now, in an advanced club, you have to apply critical thinking. Right? And how the speaker has put together their content, how they've thought through that content, and as an evaluator to look for that critical thinking part that went into the presentation content and how they're mastering the content. Key difference, right? In a community club, I've never heard of anyone talk about critical thinking or how much time you should spend on the audience takeaway, or what is it really there for the audience, and so on. Here we are, as Sonja said, taking the lens out and making sure it comes into sharp focus. So critical thinking, right, results in content mastery. Content mastery, as you begin to master, you get more critical thinking. It's like a circle, right? And that's what we are all about. Mr. Zoom Master, if you can launch the poll and put a handout in the chat for our guests. Now, our guests, you will only get one handout. If you are a member of this club, you would get all the full workbooks, the speaker workbook, the evaluators workbook, and so on. That material is only reserved for membership. So if you want to be a member, you'll get the full benefit of the full training and other trainings that we do, which are not done on Saturday mornings. You will have privilege to that. So if you want to become a member of Leadership Speak, fill in the guest book, and we will be posting that link once more at a later time. But here's the poll, and the poll questions are there. So could you please indulge with me? What makes a great evaluation? 1, encouragement and positivity, spotting every mistake, giving detailed feedback, clear structure, audience takeaway, and transitions. What is very important for you as an evaluator? And I'm asking this especially for the guests, but every member who's here, every person who's here, please put in your vote and see what it is. There's no right or wrong answer, okay? So don't try and second guess yourself. Say, oh, and then at the end, say, oh, most of them voted what I voted. Don't go for that sort of a thing. What is true for you, be authentic and just, vote for what you think currently. And then we will launch another poll at the end, and you will see if your thinking has changed or not. Has this training been useful, or you actually were thinking along the right lines, and so you just got more information, and now you're just a better evaluator. And for some of you, I don't know. Here's the thing, however, I'm still learning how to do evaluations. I'm by no means an expert, but I've been around for 30 years and I've paid attention, so I might be a little bit further out along the road. Some of you here might be even much better evaluators than I am. Okay, I'm learning. I'm a learner as much as you all are. But I might have a thing or two here to say today that will help you. All right. So, Paramjit, is everything all right with the poll?
Yeah, everything fine. Done. All done.
If you can take a screenshot of the poll and share it in the chat for us, for everyone as a permanent record for us.
I'll do that.
Thank you very much. So my technology is not quite friendly today. I don't know why. Let's see if it works.
For your information, Brahm, the last one, clear structure, audience takeaway, and transition, 37.4. 37 people have voted for that.
Okay. I have to come very close to me because the screens are very far away from me. Yes, I can see that. Thank you very much. And we have 64 of the 69 people actually vote. Thank you so much for indulging with me. Usually I don't get 78% of the people voting. My voice is going. So clear structure, audience takeaway, and transitions is important because we've said this already quite a bit. And if that's what you have thought, and if that's what you do in evaluations, congratulations, maybe that is the way. Let's unfold this training and see where we are really headed and what you should really be looking for to sharpen that critical thinking. If you can close this and post it in the chat, that'll be great. Thank you very much. All right, so now looks like, yeah, I have my technology is a little bit off here, a little bit. So let's see now. It's one of those days, right? Let's see if I can. I think I might have solved the problem, which I didn't know I could possibly do that. Okay, oh great, I think I solved the problem. So effective critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the first thing that we insist in an advanced club. Now, I know even in community clubs, you're supposed to be doing this. And what is it that you're supposed to be doing? Well, here's the speaker. And here's the evaluator, right? Now, I find that in most clubs, they seem to think that the speaker is on this side and the evaluator is on that side, and there's a wall in between. And that is a myth. There's no wall between the speaker and the evaluator. They really are part of one team. Right? They are actually two sides to a coin. Where's my coin? There it is. There are two sides to a coin. And so what does that mean? That means they work together. A speaker and an evaluator in an advanced club, we insist that they are partners. Right? It's a partnership. An inseparable partnership. Now, what does that mean? Now, you must have heard, even in your community clubs, right? You may not practice it, but do they ever tell you, meet with your evaluator, the speaker and evaluator get together, And sometimes the evaluator may have even approached you as a speaker saying, what are your objectives besides the objectives or the purpose in pathways? What else do you want me to look out for in this particular presentation, right? Would you agree? That is a partnership. And it is so necessary, especially in an advanced club, to do that. So dear members of Leadership Speak, now you heard it in this training as well, that you have to do that. It's a partnership. It's a relationship that you've created. It's key to not you becoming only a better evaluator, but the speaker becoming a better speaker at the same time. Now, this is only very useful if and only if the speaker looks back at their previous evaluation and says, from my previous evaluation, what can I incorporate into my current evaluation? Besides the objectives and the purpose of the pathway, what am I really working on? Content mastery, transitions, audience takeaway, eye contact, pauses, myriads of things. Now there's a handout that was posted, I believe. So that's just the one handout. And that list is pretty long. And there may be even more points that you could look out for. Now, an evaluator cannot, of course, go through all those points, right? So, and because the evaluator can't go through all those points, they have to listen very carefully. They have already spoken to the speaker and they know what they're really looking for. Please mute yourself, Baramjit. Thank you. So they know what they're looking for in the speaker, and the evaluation will go in the right direction and with even greater critical thinking, and therefore helping the speaker speed up and fast track. This partnership is all about fast tracking. You don't want to take 10 years trying to just rumble around. Very, very important. It's a real relationship, and it must be maintained for critical thinking for both parties, evaluator and speaker. There are two sides of this wonderful coin here, right? So, so here's my definition of critical thinking, just for this purpose. One of our panelists will come on later, Vinod Panikkar. He has a very good explanation for what critical thinking is that he was telling us the other day in our preliminary training that is only meant for members. So, what is critical thinking? As far as I'm concerned, for a high-level definition that I came up with is critical thinking is, and now there's some blanks here. What is this blank here? Well, that blank is the deliberate, disciplined process of analyzing, evaluating, and drawing conclusions with the purpose of, and we all know what the purpose of an evaluation is, elevating excellence in the speaker. Elevating excellence in the speaker. Right? And so what is the evaluator really listening for at the end? The speech didn't begin with the audience takeaway. It ended with the audience takeaway. But if the evaluator really looks at what is audience takeaway, then if they look at the speech, did it really make sense for the audience takeaway? Or did it waffle around? And then the audience takeaway was just added at the end as a tag on. And speakers tend to do that because they haven't thought through critically. Right? And therefore, what was the structure? What was the title and the content and the transition? Right? All those wonderful things. So I will keep mentioning that throughout this presentation. So, dear evaluators, while the speaker is speaking and everybody else here in the audience, all of you now, how many of we are here now? Almost 80 people. This was the expectation that we would have that many people today. I have to peer down into my small screen for the numbers. So please be like an evaluator today, all right? And here's what I want you all to do. Note down what the title of the presentation is, right? How did the presenter open the presentation, right? These are normal things, right? And what were the key points in the body? What were the transitions in between? How the content was layered? And how did it move to a conclusion at the end? Everyone here today is an evaluator, okay? We will have two speakers, and I'm asking the speaker again, the two speakers, just relax, just relax. This is just a training session. Like I said, just be cool, all right? It could be a real pressure, right? When I'm going through this and they're saying, you know, sometimes the speaker gets, oh my goodness, is that true? Just relax, just be at Leadership Speak Advanced Club. All right, dear speakers, no pressure. And of course, what was the CTA, right? What is CTA? We all know what CTA means, call to action, takeaway. And what am I going to do with this information that I had? Okay, so everyone here today is an evaluator. When the speaker comes on, that's what you will do. So again, I'm going to berate this point over and over again because this is so important in content mastery. As an audience as well, so you are an evaluator today, all of you, and you are also the audience. An evaluator is always the audience. Would you agree, right? And so they have to listen not only from an audience's perspective, but also from critical thinking as to how this presentation was structured, right? And how the structure is created is very apparent in, of course, the call to the action, right? Which means what was the title and how did the presenter speak and open? See, call to action, therefore title and opening. And it does, the call to action doesn't have to be the title, but there's relevance to the title, right? And relevance to the opening. And it could be the title, I don't know, depending on what your presentation is. It has to be relevant, not like some off-topic thing, okay? The construction to the conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, and here's the key thing. Did the presentation inform, inspire, persuade, and entertain? This particular thing here. Guess where did I get this from? So everyone here, I believe, has done at least level 1 speech number 2. And in pathways, in speech number 2, first pathway, writing a speech, it's there. Are you informing the audience, inspiring, persuading, and entertaining the audience? So as an evaluator today, what is our speaker doing? Did they inform? Did they inspire? Did they persuade? Did they entertain? And each one of these has its own language, and the words you use will be very different. Agree? Yes? Now, this presentation that I am doing is instructional. So the way I'm speaking and the words I'm using and the way I'm conducting and saying things the way I'm saying is all to inform, or I call it instructional or training, today's presentation. Okay? So as a speaker, you need to know what you're doing for your audience. Besides, okay, this is the conclusion, this is the takeaway. Is it an entertaining type of presentation that I'm doing? Is it just, am I informing? Am I inspiring? Am I persuading? There are other things as well. Once you progress beyond this, there's other things like, am I doing a motivational speech? And the motivational speech is like different movements, high energy movements, highs and lows of voice and so on, right? That's a motivational speech. You are lighting a fire under people's seat. There's a different type of, and then there's other is negotiation type of presentations, which is not mentioned in our pathways because they want to keep it simple. I mean, this is just speech number 2, right? For a brand new beginner. And this is in there. So if you're a way advanced presenter, think of the other things that are possible. Are you influencing as well? Motivating, negotiating, okay? You might be doing that because this is what your profession calls you to do. You could be in sales, you could be persuading, but you could also be negotiating, depending on the type of sales that you are doing. if you are called on to do an after dinner speech, it's always entertaining, a keynote speech, right? After dinner. Usually they tend to be entertaining because now people have filled in with the food. You go to a big function, right? Some of you have heard keynotes, right? And then after everyone has dinner, the keynote speaker stands up and he makes people laugh and they all relax because they don't want a huge informational, instructional type of presentation at the time. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, having said that, I will only cover about 9 things. On your handout, there were about 11, 12, I can't remember, on your handout. I'll cover the 9 main things that we need to cover today in terms of how to think critically in your presentations. What are the things that you have to look for? So here they are. 1, we will look at structure and organization. Let's see what's going on here. Clarity of message. How clear was it? Which is really the critical thinking part. How clear was the message? Was there use of evidence? And I will be explaining all this. Did it engage the audience? Language and rhetoric. I only look at language today. Delivery skills. And because leadership speak is on Zoom, the Zoom presence. And of course, if you are meeting normally in a physical meeting, what's your physical presence going to be like? I'll touch on that briefly as well. And the certain things that you need to avoid doing, and this is so prevalent in Toastmasters, you have to avoid, even at a community club, you really need to avoid certain things. And I'll be talking about that. And then I will summarize at the end, and then we will bring the speaker on. Ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the rest of the training? Thank you. So, I will not berate this point, right? The structure and the organization. That's why I just put it straight up there. You're going to inform, inspire, persuade, and entertain, right? And then there's a conclusion, and the conclusion is going to be based on, of course, what you were doing here and how you're doing and the languaging that will be used. Remember, always leave on a high note, however. Don't leave on a very sad note and bring people down and crying, we lost everything, and then you walk off the stage. The audience didn't come for that. They came to, what was the solution, right? What was the solution? So, the evaluator, and we are all evaluators here today, analyze how well this speaker is structured their presentation. Did they have a clear opening, body, conclusion? Did their ideas flow logically, and the ability to think things through coherently, key. And how was the presentation layered, right? And so on. This is the key thing. That's why we keep mentioning that over and over. Okay, having said that, now let's look at the other parts of the presentation. And the first thing is we are going to talk about is, of course, clarity of message. Now, this is so important. You have to assess whether the speaker was effective in conveying their main message. What was the main message? And did it really appear in the conclusion as a takeaway, as a clear conclusion, takeaway? Critical thinking will require the ability to distill complex ideas about the speaker into clear, understandable points. If the speaker goes very complex, then you will have to make it clear for him. The speaker must, of course, make it as clear and as simple as possible. The world champions of public speaking are a typical example. They simplify their speech so much that even a child of 5 years old will understand exactly what's going on, and they will visualize the language they use, the visual language. They will know exactly what it is, that's what's going on. And yet, there's an adult takeaway. Did the presentation move forward, building on the previous points as they are layered from transition to transition, point to point, or did it go backwards? Sometimes I see speakers, they have reached over here, and instead of going forward, they'll retract and re-mention other points. Or they are now in the conclusion part, and then they will go back and introduce their own story again. And they'll have 2 or 3 conclusions, really, because they haven't thought through. Yeah? So that is the clarity we need, is to how it is put together. And the evaluator needs to watch for that. The flow of the presentation, the clarity. This is the one where critical thinking really kicks in for the speaker when they're putting the content together, and for the evaluator now when they're talking about the clarity of the message. This is the rubber hits the road here. Okay? This is it. The main part of a presentation. And then, of course, sometimes you have a material that we are quoting from somebody, statistics, and things like that. Is the use of evidence. So an evaluator should really open their ears and say, did the speaker support their claim with relevant evidence, with examples? Right? Critical thinking is all about relying on evidence to support your argument, which is the speaker. If you are arguing about something, facts and figures and so on, mention, okay, in Harvard Business Journal, June of 2003, there was a research paper by XYZ, or New England Medical Journal, right? Here's a graph, this is where I picked it up from, and it is by an expert, so they know what they're talking about. Don't say, oh, I asked ChatGPT, ChatGPT told me that, so it must be true. No, no, no. ChatGPT is not reliable, and sometimes it has hallucinations. And even if ChatGPT told you that, it actually gives you references if it is really clear and crystal clear in its research, and you can use ChatGPT or an AI tool to help you do your research. It will give you the references anyways. It does. And so mention those references and make sure that the presentation is in your words and not an artificial intelligence robot talking. It's you being authentic about your message. Engagement with the audience. Is the audience engaged? Consider how well the speaker engages the audience. Did they use anecdotes, questions, or other techniques to involve the audience in their presentation? Critical thinking includes adapting to your audience's needs and reactions. So now today, all of you here are evaluators. In fact, I'm one of the speakers, right? Even though we have 2 speakers who will be evaluated, I'm a speaker as well. You're probably evaluating me. Brahm, what does this speaker, why is he holding this, right? And all that. So by all means, please do evaluate me. That's not a problem. If you have any questions at this point in time, pop it in the chat. I'll pause for a second, right, to see if you really have any questions about anything. Paramjit, are there any questions in the chat so far? Is there anything that we need? I need to pay attention to?
Not as yet any question, Brahm.
Thank you very much. Okay. So by all means, please pop in questions if you wish. And I'll very quickly address them if I can. Okay. Next one. Your language, the words that you use, that creates an image in a person's head as to what actually is going on, right? Examine the speaker's use of language and vocabulary. Did they use persuasive techniques effectively? Did the critical thinking encompass the use of appropriate use of language? Of course, to do what? Inspire, persuade, entertain, those 4 things, right? The 4 key things. Did the language lend to that? I hope this language that I'm using is about instruction and informational. The way I'm speaking is all about informational and instructional, right? So language is key. In the words that you use, where you will pause, where you will not pause, which is of course part of the delivery thing, which I will come to in a second. Which is here, delivery skills, right? A good delivery skill is essential for effective communication. The tone, the pacing, the pose, the gestures, the eye contact, the poses. Yes. The poses. Did the speaker pose at the appropriate times to get the audience to understand the information? Because we speak at a faster rate than sometimes our brain is taking in new information and processing it. Pauses are very important when there's new information being presented. And so a confident, engaging delivery will enhance the impact of your critical thinking by your vocal variety, by the eye contact, by the gestures you have, by the movement you will have, and by the poses that you have. All those delivery skills that we learn at the basic skill. In fact, in level 1, we learn most of it, and in level 3 electives, we actually practice more of those skills, right? Body language, eye contact, voice control, movement, and so on. And actually, every speech after that is all about having the fundamentals down packed, and the evaluator should be watching for that. In an advanced club, if you join an advanced club like Leadership Speak, you have to have done level 3. That means you've down packed already the fundamental, foundational, basic skills, which I just talking about, the delivery skills. They should be down packed. Because every time you do a new presentation, now you're beginning to think, okay, where will I pose? Where will I stand? Where will I move? Is there role playing? Every time you go through myriads of things, and it really slows you down because you really haven't mastered the basic fundamentals. So make sure that as a speaker, you've mastered the basic fundamentals, and the evaluator will be watching, because now you are an advanced speaker. Have you really gotten the delivery skills down packed? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? What can I say? Zoom presence. Okay. Those people who are on Zoom, their meetings in Zoom, right? Here's the problem. You have to be aware of the framing. What does framing mean? Now, this is a technical term in television, in cinema, and so on, right? It is all about the lighting on the face, the background, the color of the clothes, the color of the skin tone, right? And against the background, am I really visible based on what I'm wearing, the lighting, my skin tone, and the background and all that? Or am I disappearing into the background? That's called framing. It's a technical term. So make sure if you're on Zoom, you don't have to go and spend a fortune. You can just buy a small lamp and put it on the desk and shining on your face, not too bright, so that we can see you better in a Zoom setting. But what is more important, whether you're in a physical room or in the Zoom presence, guess what is very important? Voice and sound. And how you use your voice is very, very important. Sound is much more important than video is. Sound comes at the top, second comes video. But video means framing and how you're framing yourself, which means lighting, background, color of the clothes, skin tone, and all that come into play. Make sure that they are all aligned so that you stand out clearly for the audience to see if you're on Zoom. Makes sense, right? And also, of course, the physical presence. If you are in a physical space, how are you moving in the stage? And are you just, as you're talking, are you just marching up and down? I went to a club the other day, and the Toastmaster of the day, it was a physical meeting. It was hybrid, so I was online, and most of them were meeting physically. And the Toastmaster of the day, as he was introducing, he was walking up and down and reading his notes and introducing people. And they had asked me to be a GE. I was the visiting GE for that club. So, of course, I told the Toastmaster of the day, please don't move around. Or even as a speaker. Stand in one place and make a point, and then you may want to change if you wish, make another point. Don't use a big movement everywhere. Have you ever watched a TED Talk, right? This is my favorite. In a TED Talk, what happens? Millions of people have watched TED Talks. I'm sure most of you have. They stand on a small red circle. They don't have dramatic effects and movement and ups and downs and running around. They are talking something very passionate. What they are very passionate about, they're authentic. It comes from within them. It's the part of their experience in life and what they've uncovered. And they're talking about that. And they're not even using highs and lows in the vocal variety, really, unless it really calls for that in their presentation. But everyone, hundreds and thousands of people that are sitting in the audience are riveted to the speaker. 18 minutes of presentation, and they get a standing ovation. So in Toastmasters, sometimes there are things that we do are unnecessary, is what my point is, for the sake of doing what we do. Because the skills that you want to learn here should be used out in the real world. We are an advanced club, so that's what we emphasize for our members. How can you use this presentation out in the real world? Are you really learning the skills that you can use out in the real world? Or people tell me sometimes, I'm just doing this speech for Toastmasters. I said, no, I don't want a Toastmaster speech. I want a speech that is real. I want a speech that is you. Makes sense now, right? Any questions? Put it in the chat. Okay, now here's the thing that I was talking about, right? What you should be avoiding. And this is my pet peeve. It really is my pet peeve. And what's that pet peeve is the superlatives. You know, as soon as the speaker finishes and the Toastmaster of the day comes on, the first thing he will say, wow, amazing speech. And when the evaluator starts evaluating, wow, amazing speech, right? Awesome speech. And when the G comes on and the evaluator is finished, they, oh, amazing evaluation. Please avoid, wow, I loved, amazing, awesome. Don't use that. Instead, use words like, you were effective. This is where you excelled, you know? You excelled at your feedback, and you excelled at XYZ. So your feedback should even excel at what it is that you're telling the speaker, right? So use words like you excelled at, you were effective at, not wow, awesome, wow. Hey, if the Toastmaster of the day takes over from the speaker, they can say, oh, make just one transition comment, of course, about the speech, but not wow or awesome. These are just filler words, okay? This is where you could have excelled at. This is where you could be more effective at your presentation. That language gives you power. It really gives you power as an evaluator. And because you've already met your speaker beforehand, it's even more relevant how you speak. Because now they won't get offended, because most of you are afraid, I will offend the speaker. And the speaker said, they've got their ego, you know, out there, and they get offended, even the slightest suggestion of where to improve. When they get together, the ego disappears. And in an advanced club, leadership speak, you're not supposed to have this ego or whatever. You're coming with a growth mindset. You have to have a learning mindset so that when you get feedback, you incorporate it or discard it if you don't want to use it. But you have to be very clear. I got offended. That doesn't happen in leadership speak. Let me assure you, you're totally transparent. And everybody's learning at a huge learning curve. And they're all progressing very fast. If you want to be a member, you have to look at leadership speak. And then the evaluator says, what would it take to take you to the next level? These are your strengths. This is what you excelled at. And this is where you can take it to the next level. Also, avoid repeating what the speaker said. Some evaluators will say, oh, you said this and you said that. No, you don't want a summary of the presentation of what the speaker said. You excelled at this. This was the conclusion. This was my takeaway. And the call to action, I got it. I was informed. I was entertained. I was persuaded. I was inspired. What was it? And this was my takeaway. And you excelled at, right? Here's where you could be more effective. And what would it take you to be at the next level? Period. Avoid this, please. And I'm going to berate on this point and mention that again. Avoid fluff. Speak with precision. Right? Don't say that was awesome. You were great. Explain why they excelled at something. You excelled at XYZ because you used your voice, you posed at the right place, and it made an impact with the audience. I totally got it. The languaging you used, and it was right where critical thinking is. Right? You excelled at it. You were awesome. Oh, great. Awesome speech is nothing. All right? It's my pet peeve. And do say, for example, your use of metaphor in the opening was effective in the setting context, whatever that context was, and it really led to the conclusion, very well done. You excelled at it. Make sense? Don't waffle. Deliver clear, structured, specific feedback for the speaker and build them up. They don't want their ego stroked. In leadership speak, they don't come with an ego. They come with, what am I going to learn here today? And I'm coming here with an open learning mindset. So tell me where I excelled and tell me where I can improve myself to the next level, which is what you will hear today. Now, of course, I do slip up myself because everybody's saying, oh, wow, and all that. I get carried away. Sometimes I do say that, but I correct myself immediately. Okay? So, remember, key thing, no fluff. No fluff. Okay? My pet peeve. Was I passionate about it? I think I was. Okay, let's move that over. Summarize at the end, ladies and gentlemen. Always summarize your main points at the end. An effective evaluator always does that. And the evaluator today, the evaluators today will begin with, we've suggested that they begin with this. Some of them will have a little bit more difficult time because it's a brand new way of thinking for them. Right? Some of them have practiced a bit and they're more okay with it. But they will begin with, I hope, my takeaway was, or the call to action was, this was the audience's takeaway. And then if they landed power with the way I've said you do an evaluation, right? They're all learning today. So there will be a lot of things that may not go according to this training. We are all learning a different way, pushing our comfort zone, right? I didn't deliberately choose evaluators who have been around for quite a while and they are advanced evaluators already. Most of the evaluators today are really putting their foot out into the new world of critical thinking. We are training them to be the club champions, and this is their first time that they're thinking in this particular manner. Besides the preliminary training that we had in front of an audience of about 80 people, this is the first time. Most of you here as well who are visitors, you probably have not done an evaluation in this manner. That's why you're here, right? So we are all learning together. We are all here with a learning mindset. There are no judgments. I'm learning as well. And we will stumble along, we will pick ourselves up, and we will go forward. And the evaluator will say, dear dear speaker, this is my checklist. I went through this checklist. You know, they will have written notes. This was the title, and how did it set the tone, right? Did the opening draw the attention? What were the key points and how were they stacked together? And was there a strong conclusion to a clear ending? See, this is my summary, right? I summarized my whole training today. So, also remember, as the evaluator begins, and for everyone, every presentation is about the audience, is not about the speaker. Even when you are doing, you know, my leadership style or my communication style or an icebreaker in an advanced club, we always tell the speaker, it is always about the audience in the end, even though you're reporting on yourself for leadership style, communication style, or the mentor you had. What's there something for the audience? Always in an advanced skill, you begin to think differently. You begin to think what's out there and is it lending well? So the evaluators are looking always for that. And so as a speaker, it's your duty to add value to the audience. Always. Doesn't matter what sort of presentation it is. Did the audience get value? Did they spend their time wisely? And as an evaluator, listen for that value add. In a nutshell, that's what it is. And so you can take a screenshot if you wish. Somebody can take a screenshot and post it in the chat, but this is also in the notes that were posted earlier for all the audience. You didn't get the workbooks and so on, which is only meant for our members, and our members will get more training on Tuesday. We actually do extra trainings on Tuesdays with all sorts of things, how to speak better, how to evaluate better, leadership skills, and so on. So if you want to be a member, dear guests, if you want to be a member, right? Fill in the feedback form. And also, of course, there's also, you don't have to really want to be a member to fill in the feedback form. I would really like a feedback form to be filled for how well I did today. So Helene, if you can post that feedback form in the chat again for us, that'll be great. And thank you for posting the slide about the summary. Helene, I'm waiting for you to post the link before I go on. Your feedback is very, very important, dear guests, all right? So now is the time to sort of, whatever you've learned in the past 45 minutes, the 45 minutes are now over, okay? I will now be calling on the speakers shortly. I'm just waiting for the link. Thank you, Helene. There we go. Yeah, that's from Helene, our PR master today. Click on the link. Let us know how we did in this training, what you learned, what are your thoughts. And if you want to be a member, of course, do put in your other information like your WhatsApp number. We only work on WhatsApp, right? So we don't do emails. We communicate with WhatsApp because we have members from 32 different countries from all over the world. And it's much easier to use text messages. If you want to be a member, you will have to get a WhatsApp account as well. Put in your WhatsApp number, okay? If you want to be a member, or just give us feedback and say, I know I'm not interested in membership. There's a space that says, yeah, I'm not interested. So just say that. All right. Really appreciate your participation, dear guests. Now remain here because now the speaker will come on. The speaker will speak, and then we will take the evaluators out into the breakout room. Okay. And then we will call the evaluator one by one. And after all the 5 evaluators have done, there'll be a small panel discussion that will happen. And after the panel discussion, which will be conducted by the GE, right? And GE will conduct the evaluations. Then we will go on to the second speaker, and the same process will happen again. Thank you very much all for being here. In this training part is now over. I will now turn to the speaker. So, speaker 1. And if we can all have Gerda Felix here with me. Gerda, how are you today?
I am well, Brahm. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I can hear you well. I can see you are well, and all that. Now, of course, Gerda, you are all relaxed. You are okay, you know, as much as you can, of course. I mean, I know there's 80 people in the room. Let's see how many, 82 people in the room. But that's okay. You know, we're all learning, right, Gerda? Perfect. And by the way, Guerdah is in the same time zone that I am in. She is in District 86, about 200 kilometers from me. When I had my birthday last month, she took a bus and came and took 3 hours to come to my birthday get together, and then put up at a hotel and then went. I've known Guerdah for over 5 years, and she's a great dear friend, and she's been such a great help in my journey in Toastmasters. With that, ladies and gentlemen, here's Gerda Felix. It is not for now. It is not for now, Gerda Felix.
Is there a saying that accompanied you when you were growing up? Give me a thumbs up if there is something that you remember from when you were a child. A saying to this day still has an impact in your life. For me, the saying is, it is not for now. Like a chorus, this sentence was often used in our home. When I did not want to do my homework, it is not for now. When I wanted to stay longer in bed during the weekends, it is not for now. Even when I did not want to take a nap, it is not for now. So I asked, can I take it later? Go. That's what my mother said. And then later on, she explained to me what she meant. When she said, it is not for now, it is for later, she meant that what we start today will benefit us tomorrow. This made sense to my young child's brain. And to continue this tradition, when my niece and my nephews started to display similar behaviors, I used the same sentence. When they complain about learning something new, it is not for now. When they were asked to make their beds, it is not for now. Even when they were afraid to start something new, it is not for now. It is important to note that it is not for now. It is a story of preparation. It is important for you to prepare yourself for tomorrow. I said this sentence so much and so often that perhaps at some point they became deaf to it. Until one day at church, our pastor said, children, teenagers, when your parents ask you to do something, it is not for now. And you should have seen their eyes. They looked at me, one on the right side, the other one on the left side. They looked at me with maybe wonder and surprise. Because in that moment, they knew that I was a sane person preparing them for their future. In that moment, I felt validated, perhaps even vindicated, because I know that they learned something. Benjamin Franklin said, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. I want to persuade you today to start whatever you want to start, whatever that perhaps you are afraid to start today, because it is not for now, it is for later. You will be prepared for what is to come, which will bring you knowledge, assurance, and even peace of mind. I will share two stories with you. The first story is from myself. I live with something called fibromyalgia. And I can tell you that with fibromyalgia, there are some days I don't even want to get up. But because I have made it a habit that however I felt, I am going to get up, I am going to take a shower. That habit has led me every day to do this, whether I want to or not. And it has helped me feel better later during the day. Now, imagine firemen operating in a highly stressful situation, if they were not prepared, if they did not exercise, if they did not do what they needed to do you think that they would be prepared to save you? Who here would like to be saved by a fireman that has not done that they were supposed to do? I'm not saying any thumbs up. And that's why it is not for now, it is for later. When I was studying life coaching, to fulfill the requirements of my education, I had to coach 3 people. One of my clients, after she was coached, we concluded our sessions. Sometime later, she received some bad news, a cancer diagnosis. She pulled through. But every time she sees me, this is what she says: if I didn't work with you then, I wouldn't have been prepared to go through that time of my life. So what about you? What are you afraid of doing? What is it that you need to start today in order for you to have the life that you want? Remember, it is not for now. It is for later, because what you start today will help you prepare for who you are becoming. I want to leave you with this quote: good fortune often happens when opportunity meets with preparation. Are you prepared? Remember, it is not for now. It is for later. Back to you, Brahm.
Thank you, Guerdah. That quote by Benjamin Franklin was pretty apt at your presentation. And it is not for now is the message that really hits home. Sometimes we are in too much of a hurry to get to some place. We have to go through the learning curve. It's not for now. Thank you. With that, we will now have of course, the evaluators go to the breakout room. So I'll call the general evaluator here in the meantime, and also Zoom master, if you can get the evaluators into the breakout room. And the evaluators who are going to go into the breakout room is for the first speaker. And please spotlight Rozy for me so that she can take over from me. So Gilda, Sonja, Irfan, Irene, and Nelly will be taken to the breakout room. Paramjit Singh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I've just launched. Let me see if they joined.
And spotlight Rozy for me as well, because this is our spot. And
Just
Madam Timer can start timing the 5 minutes anyways, right? Madam Timer, put 5 minutes on the timer. And there's Rozy here. So Rozy, I did a little bit of your work for you so that, because I wanted to expedite a bit of the timing to get this evaluators away from you. But ladies and gentlemen, Rozy Rana is a great dear friend, and she is the past Smedley's distinguished district director for District 114, right? And she is in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm from Kenya, and I did live in Nairobi for quite a while. She is the managing director of Dorman's Coffee, world famous because we all in 32 different countries and more from Leadership Speak know about her coffee. She is a PhD in business administration and management, and a dear friend. Rozy, welcome as a GE. Over to you.
Thank you very, very much, Brahm. You have already put me on a pedestal, and I'm honored. I appreciate you. I also truly appreciate your earlier training. Like Brahm said, I am thrilled today to be the general evaluator. However, for Leadership Speak, today my role will be somewhat different. We have already picked the fact that the art of evaluation is not merely about picking a speaker's strengths and advising them on points of improvement. Ultimately, and the bottom line is it's about revealing potential in a speaker. It's about uplifting them, about making them grow to the next level. And for that, I am really grateful to Guerdah for coming, putting herself on the spot, agreeing to be evaluated by 5 different evaluators. But that itself, while I thank her, she will be thanking every one of the evaluators because they will be offering her value. And it is through evaluations that we lead and grow. At this stage, I just want to confirm we must have completed at least a minute and a half since the speakers were put into the room. So I will ask our timekeeper just to allow us another 3 minutes. And you can bear with me as I waffle away for 3 minutes for the evaluators to prepare their notes and before the Zoom master can bring them back. So Lydia, if you can give us 3 more minutes, I think at least 1.5 to 2 minutes are over. Fellow Toastmasters and very, very welcome guests. We've heard Brahm's training, and in that training, he pointed out, give or take 9 different criteria, 9 different categories where speakers should direct their message, and evaluators will focus their evaluations. So today, as we listen to each one of the evaluators, and we are all evaluators, try your best to look for those elements. I will not be evaluating any speaker at the end of the presentation or any of the evaluators. I will just be calling upon the next one. For speakers, this is a great opportunity, as I say, to grow. For evaluators, it's really going to build your muscle. You're going to get better critical thinking ability. You're going to have the ability to show empathy, to influence a speaker, and to lift them to the next level. As a reminder, some of the elements we will be looking at include the speaker's takeaway message. Is it very clear? Did we get it? Was the title aligned? Was it weaved through? Was the intent clear? Was the speech informational, inspirational, persuasive? How was the speaker's delivery? How was the speaker's language? Was there vivid imagery, or did it reinforce the message? Were the poses adequate? Was the content clear? Was the structure well aligned with the message? Could you tell the opening? Was it impactful? I've put it all over, maybe not in the same order that Brahm did, but every single evaluator will be picking on those elements. And at the end of the 5 evaluators, we will have a panel discussion. Brahm, our trainer, will lead it. Vinod Panikar, an expert evaluator, will join me as we discuss the different evaluations that will have come through. At this stage, I can see the red light, and I will ask our Zoom master to call in or to bring to the main room so that we can move swiftly our first evaluator, who had originally said she'd like to be in the room, so I'm not sure if she's in or out. So if Zoom master can bring in Gilda Shlah to begin her evaluation of Guerdah Felix's speech. Is Gilda in the room, Paramjit?
I've sent a message and she has not moved till now.
Okay.
I'm just trying to again broadcast the message to her.
Brilliant. And to our audience, do your own evaluations, and then you can see whether you agree with the evaluator, whether you feel there would be different ways of doing it, because in the panel discussion, those are the elements we too will be looking out for and discussing in the panel. Paramjit, if Gilda does not come in, maybe you can give her a few seconds and we can then move on to our next evaluator if that
Yeah, waiting
she's
for her.
having challenges.
I've sent a message to her also, but she has not responded as yet.
Okay. Our second evaluator will be Sonia, but I'll wait a few more seconds for Gilda. Maybe she's having trouble joining in the room. Maybe she's not able to see where she comes back in from. I see your message, Paramjit, to the breakout room as well. It could be that she's having difficulty finding where she needs to get back in the room.
The only thing I can do is I can close the old rooms and then can put them back again, everyone there. That's only.
Maybe what we can do is we can begin with the second evaluator, who would be Sonia. You can invite Sonia to join in and we can help.
The first
you're here, Gilda.
Oh, now it's okay.
Oh, brilliant. So Paramjit, maybe you can help spotlight Gilda, who will be evaluating our speaker. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your help. And great, Gilda. Welcome, Gilda.
Hi there.
Please proceed to evaluate Guerdah's speech, "It is not for now." Gilda Shlah, Gilda Shlah, "It is not for now's evaluation."
I am more persuaded now than ever to step out of my comfort zone and learn new things for my future. And that was a strong takeaway from your speech, Gilda. You told us, you demonstrated through your speech, stepping out of our comfort zone. It's not for now, it's for the future. You gave us 3 examples at home, at school, at church. You even added some humor to it. And you said it maybe many times, reminding us, when you step out of your comfort zone and do things you never like to do, it is for your future. Your eye contact was very engaging. Your pauses and you're confident in your delivery were very engaging and persuading us to pay attention to you, listen to you to the end. And your key to action, you asked us, what about you? What are you afraid of? And you encouraged us to go and do things for the future. We could amplify and we could bring your speech to a higher level. I would stand a bit further from the stage, just like that, to show my body and my body gesture to everybody. Because when we are on the stage, we show most of our body. Everybody will see the whole body and movement. Few times, your glasses, maybe just like my glasses, were glaring. We couldn't see your eye contact, although you had very good eye contact. But we have to do something about our glasses, whoever wear glasses, to avoid that, especially in a Zoom meeting. All in all, in summary, very strong opening. Memorable key message and takeaway action. Very clear transition between your experiences, added humor. We were very engaged Just work on the glare of the glasses and stay away from the screen a bit so we can see body gesture. It will take you to the next level. Looking forward for your next speech, Guerdah. Back to you, evaluator or general evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Gilda, for that very insightful evaluation. I would now like to request our fantastic Zoom master to invite in our second evaluator into the room, Sonja Meindl. Sonja Meindl. Now, once again, Sonja will also be evaluating Guerdah's speech. It is not for now. We will be having 5 evaluators. Sonja is our second evaluator. Excellent. Thank you very much, Sonja. Over to you to evaluate Guerdah Felix's speech. It is not for now. Go ahead.
Thank you. Guerdah, I received a clear takeaway from your presentation today. Your speech demonstrated a strong call to action that if we don't prepare or do something now, we will not achieve or have what we want later. Even when we don't like it, we should follow the advice that's given by our parents and prepare, because the result we will receive later. It is not for now. You captured right away the attention of the audience by asking us a question, reflecting back to our own childhood. And I'm absolutely certain everyone could actually feel or had the same experience as you. We were asked to do something that we didn't like. And maybe later we understood why we were asked to do. Your strength was, in my opinion, your structure, a clear opening with a clear statement, where I was immediately knew where your speech and presentation was heading towards. You connected with the audience immediately by asking us, not only asking us a question, but also ask us to give a thumbs up. And you brought, in the main body, you brought several other examples to support your message. What we would feel like, for example, if we had a firefighter with no experience who had not prepared earlier for this situation when we need him. And you had a clear ending, where you asked us, engaged with us again, and where you provided a quote. You asked us what we could do now. You made us think, and you made us clearly understand, yes, we should prepare, even when we don't like in this very moment, for later, because what we're doing now, it's for later. To strengthen your impact, regarding the some points of improvements, I observed that from time to time it seemed that you had to adjust your screen. So maybe what I can recommend is that you practice and rehearse before setting up the screen in the right height, so avoiding to adjusting it, and practicing in recording several times before. Overall, it was a strong presentation, resonated clearly with me, and the title was fitting and following throughout your presentation. Your project connecting with the audience, you clearly fulfilled that. And I'm looking forward to how your next speech is building up to today's presentation. Thank you. Back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Sonja, for that insightful evaluation as well. I would now like to request Paramjit ji to please invite our third evaluator, Irfan Farooqui, to evaluate Guerdah's speech. Brilliant. Irfan, thank you very much. Please proceed and evaluate Guerdah's speech. It is not for now. It is not for now to be evaluated by Irfan Farooqui. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Gilda, it was a great pleasure for me to listen to a speaker from far away from where I live with a difference of culture. But still, what I achieved from your speech was the focus on an issue that we should always focus on future. We should learn today for what we want to do in the future. And that is something that attracted me from your speech. The thing that I liked most about your speech was you started it from your childhood memories when you talked how your parents used to tell you that it is not for now. To my understanding, my parents, when they used to say similar things, what they meant was focus on your present activity. For instance, if I'm doing some homework and there is a TV play and I request that I want to watch TV, they would say, not now. And if it is my lunchtime, dinner time, and I want to go out, play with friends, they say, not now. So you change that not now into a different perspective that if we want to do something good in future, today is the right time to start it. Then not only it was just a claim, you added certain logics to make us feel that this is what we have to do, what we should do. For instance, when you quoted Benjamin Franklin saying that failing to prepare is preparing to fail, that we understood, yes, we should work today for a better tomorrow. When you talked about the story of a fireman and said, can we trust a fireman who has not trained? So he trained in yesterday to perform today. When you talked about a patient who was a cancer patient and a doctor said that this is how they prepared in the past to tackle it in the future. The good thing was that you engaged people not only by asking a question in the beginning, but also through your storytelling techniques. When you talked about yourself, after you talked about your parents, then you said you did the same with your nephews and niece. You talked about a story when a pastor said something and everybody looked at you. So all those things were very good. I feel a few things can improve in your speech. For instance, lighting. There was too much glare on your glasses that at times I was distracted towards the light and couldn't do it. Number two, use of language. At some times you were emphasizing it was, generally speaking, is for persuasive speech, but at some times I was not able to get the feeling from your words. A better vocabulary could have been better. Overall, I would say a good persuasive speech that had a purpose, persuading us to do today for better tomorrow, and good language, good gestures, just add better framing and improved language, you will reach to a next level and you will persuade a lot of people. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Irfan, for that insightful evaluation. Brilliant. We will now move on to our fourth evaluator of Guerdah's speech, who is Irene Sadia. Paramjit ji, please have Irene Sadia come into the room.
Just waiting for her to come. Yeah, I think she's there.
Fantastic. If we can spotlight her along with me. Great. Thank you. Welcome, Irene. Irene, please proceed with your evaluation of Guerdah's speech. It is not for now. It is not for now to be evaluated in a moment by Irene Sadia. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Guerdah, thank you for your speech. My audience takeaway was how I prepare today, how we prepare today will benefit us tomorrow. You excelled at that because it was inspiring and very practical. How? Because you used personal stories like the one at church and for your patient and yourself to help us see how we prepare today will help us deal with the challenges of tomorrow. How else do I think you excelled at this speech? Your opening, you asked us questions which drew us in, helped us to start paying attention, and it set the tone for what you are going to talk about. A third thing that you excelled at was just using memorable quotes. For example, good fortune happens when opportunity meets the prepared. So still built into the message of preparing today for tomorrow. Guerdah, what my suggestions for what you could do better, even elevate this speech. You asked us questions which helped to draw us in, but it felt like they were in quick succession. So before we could process this one, the next question is asked and the next one. I suggest, would you pause probably 5 seconds after one question, allow us to internalize that one, then ask the next question. It helps us to absorb and engage better. Overall, your speech was inspiring. It was practical. It was clear. It had a very clear takeaway for us in that your opening was captivating. You had very memorable quotes for us to use, and that you used personal stories. And that's just by pacing your questions, pausing, you definitely will take this speech to another level. And just thank you for telling us, prepare today to be able to succeed tomorrow. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very, very much, Irene, for your very insightful evaluation. Fellow Toastmasters, we are now on the 5th evaluator, and that's the final evaluator for the first segment. We will have a second segment, which will be very similar. So our 5th evaluator now will be Nellie Ayodo. And I can see she's already with me. What an efficient and quick Zoom master we have. Nellie, please proceed with your evaluation for Guerdah's speech. It is not for now. It is not for now to be evaluated in a moment by Nellie Ayodo. Over to you, Nellie.
This is my takeaway message. If you fail to prepare, you plan to fail. It's also my call to action. Let me highlight areas you excelled and then share a few opportunities to elevate your influence even further. Your speech today demonstrated strong storytelling skills. You had a perfect story structure. You had a beginning, a middle, and conclusion. And for advanced storytellers, you had an exposition, a climax, or a resolution. The beginning, you set the stage. Your mom, what your mom used to tell you at home when she didn't want you to nap, she told you it is not for now. The second one was when you grew a bit older and you repeated the same message to your nephews. It is not for now. The third one is when you were a coach and you shared the message with your coachee, and she came back to you and she told you what you had told her helped her in life. So your first strength is in storytelling. You were genuine and you shared your vulnerability by telling us that you have fibromyalgia. Secondly, you shared the message with your nephews, and when they went to church and the pastor shared the message that resonated, they looked at you from both sides. Thirdly, you used quotes to validate your message. The quote from Franklin Benjamin was very powerful. If you fail to prepare, you plan to fail. It gave you credibility and it validated your message. You may want to work on your gestures. Your stage presence was good, but you should have had more gestures to highlight your message. Your tonal variety also, had you added more, had a crescendo or had lowered your voice, it would have helped. You could have said, when my mom told me to, it's not for now, when I was about to nap. The highlight of this was in church, when your nephews had the message from the pastor and a message that you had told them. That was the climax of your story, because the same message you had from your mom had been passed on to a next generation of your nieces and nephews. Finally, you should have put a little pause in some of the things you're saying. For example, when you're talking about your coachee, how she had cancer, you would have paused for us to absorb that message and then say how it helped her later in life. In closing, I like your storytelling skills, where you had a perfect structure, a beginning, a middle, and a conclusion. You've already demonstrated qualities of an advanced speaker. The audience learned something from your story. Your story was persuasive. You ended very well. Good fortune happens when opportunity meets preparedness. It tied in very well with your title, It's Not for Now. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster, Mr. Train.
Thank you very much, Nelly, for your very insightful evaluation. We've had 5 different evaluations for Guerdah, and now is the time we will be discussing this in a panel. At this stage, I would like to request the Zoom master to spotlight our trainer, Brahm Memone, and Vinod Panikar, my co-panelist. Brahm as well, please, because Brahm's leading this panel evaluation. Hi, Vinod.
Hi, Rozy.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
There we go.
Same here.
Hey, Vinod, how are you doing? Hi.
Amazing.
So we only have 10 minutes, I believe, for this particular session, this panel. And so very quick thoughts on first the speaker, very quickly. So over to you, Rozy. Anything about the speaker that you want to sort of give feedback about, or anything that you think would stand out?
About the speaker, well, I think all the evaluators have pointed out quite clearly the key message. It was very clear what the key message was on the speaker. She had a lot of courage to stand here. I'm a little unsure. I'm a bit nervous getting into an evaluation myself.
No, don't. Just one
Yeah.
line is, what was the key thing for you?
Yeah.
Stood out.
The key takeaway was she was courageous. She came in there. She spoke with conviction,
Right.
confidence, and she had a clear message for us.
That's it. Yeah, well prepared. Over to you, Vinod. One very quick thing about the speaker. Just one quick thing.
I felt Guerdah spoke very well, effectively, but there was a lot of fluff in the story. There were 6 or 7 stories in a 7-minute speech. I felt, and most of the evaluators were very, very nice, very nice. I personally feel that because I have seen Guerdah without wearing specs when she did a TMOD role. I have seen her giving amazing speeches. So I think this was more for the training purpose. She intentionally made sure that there is something for the evaluators.
Thank you.
That's it, Brahm.
All right, so let's move on to the evaluators very quickly now. And was there value for the speaker? And who gave the most value to begin with? And what value was provided? And where could the evaluators improve based on the current training? Any one of you?
Okay, I'll begin. As I started to say, almost all the evaluators picked the key message. I felt that the first evaluator, Gilda, had it slightly different to the rest. All the other 4 evaluators really took the message, which was, if we're preparing today for tomorrow. But I think Gilda ended up with also bringing that out. I'm just trying to remember exactly what she said. Yeah, sorry, she talked about stepping out of one's comfort zone, and I don't feel that Guerdah necessarily said that. So it was more about stepping out of one's comfort zone. So in terms of the evaluators, I think everyone found a takeaway message. I felt none really pointed out whether it was informational. They were talking about the takeaway, or whether it was persuasive or inspired them. They didn't really speak of the general. Each of them was, pointed out a lot of strengths and one odd point of improvement. I'll let Vinod add to that, and I can come back with a bit more.
Vinod, over to you.
Yeah, so one thing which all the evaluators were aligned to was the title and the takeaway. It was very clear that be prepared. And one, Gilda, with Gilda, I felt it is like if you give a topic on driving and the message was to drive safe, she was speaking about swimming and be safe. So I felt it was little bit different from the exact message what Guerdah was trying to say. Maybe because of the pattern, we think, okay, this message we can link with this. But as an evaluator, I feel we should use the language of the speaker, the words that were used by the speaker, because we are analyzing and synthesizing basically as an evaluator to deconstruct the opening body and this. So the message itself, it can be similar, but it felt a little bit different. And one thing which I felt only one evaluator did, others somehow were not there on the mark with specificity. That when you say that there was humor, some evaluator mentioned there was a humor. I didn't hear where the exact humor was, or when they said the voice, exactly where the voice was. And Nelly in the end mentioned 2, gave examples, but other than that, I didn't see specificity. That is something which I thought was missing.
And I agree with you. Specificity was missing in some of them.
Yeah.
Since you guys are mentioning Guerdah, I'll move on to Irfan Farooq for myself. And what really stood out was Irfan brought himself into the presentation about his parents and his experience, which should never happen. You should never come into the presentation yourself. It's about what you heard about the speaker, where they can excel, what their strengths are, where they can improve, and the takeaways. That is it. It's always about the speaker. You don't enter into that presentation to begin with, right? So, and then when Irfan said, like, you are right, better vocabulary, but what example? Give an example. If you feel that there's something to improve, give the speaker an example, because the speaker now left with, okay, vocabulary, but where do I improve? I thought it was perfect. So give examples. Specificity is very required. Anything else now? We have for a few more minutes. So any other? Who really stood out for me in this 5 was Nellie Ayodo. For me, Nellie Ayodo really stood out as a strong evaluator. All she needs to improve on is her confidence of delivery. Otherwise, it was like, wow, for me, for today. That doesn't mean anyone should compare themselves to Nellie or Nellie to anybody else. It is not. It is about just trying to set some benchmarks and where we are going and where we are headed. So that's how I felt about Nellie. Over to you guys.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brahm, that Nellie's evaluation was very powerful and she had really applied her critical thinking skills. I also thought that Irene was very structured in kind of following a format of, first, second, third. So, you couldn't lose her. And it was surprising to me that before Irene, nobody had talked about the posing because Guerdah's speech had engagement possibilities, but she had powerful messages which, had she posed for the audience to digest, I think it would have helped. Secondly, something that surprised me, and I think it was Gilda who said, stand further away. I think more than that, I'm not sure, Guerdah, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you were maneuvering. You used your cursor or something. You were maybe reading, but I felt your hand go onto the screen. So you were or onto some notes. I could see some movement to look at something and that's probably why you felt closer, because when I come near, I get seen. So it was just I think by Gilda telling you to stand away, it was showing you had come a little further. So those are elements that can help you, very simple, practical takeaways, because they, like Vinod said, they were probably more praise than takeaway. Over to you.
Vinod?
Yeah, exactly.
Summarize.
So with Nelly, I believe when she started and ended well by giving example, but in between she used big words like exposition, climax, story structure. There was a claim but not a proof, because she said about the story child, nephew, and the coach, but there were 4 more things. She added one more: pastor was there, doctor was there. So that means somehow I felt the words were heavy, because throughout Guerdah's speech, what I felt was the title, the call to action was clear, the Benjamin Franklin's quote, and the last quote, and the fireman. This was the highlight. Why was she giving the speech? She was making a claim, but was she proving it with personal examples which were elaborate, clear? That is the question I would have loved the evaluators to ask, like Socratic questioning method. Okay, you made this claim. How are you proving it? If you are just making a statement that parents did this, child did this, you can keep talking about this for 2 hours also. In 7 minutes, how are you creating or crafting a story where this message will stay with us? That is what I was looking for in all the evaluators. What are they looking for? So that somewhere I felt was missing, because there are a lot of things that could have been highlighted.
Thank you. We are almost towards the yellow light is on, so just have a minute or so. In summary, over to you. How would you totally summarize this whole experience, Rozy?
I think this is great because it's building leaders who are thinking. I do believe being the first time, because of your notes, a lot of our evaluators, while they give very good feedback, were obviously trying to get to the notes, and hence, even though they tried to be fluent or eloquent, there was some hesitation as they were trying to make sure they are filling the boxes or checking the boxes of your list. That's my feeling.
Absolutely. Vinod, summarize overall.
For me, I would love to see vivid imagery being used by the speaker, as well as the evaluators pointing out there were so many characters in the story, but I cannot visualize even a single one. there was an opportunity. So this is something which is the base of any storytelling, that bring the characters alive. No evaluators picked that up. So I felt that there were a lot of good opportunities with all the different speakers. I think they were very safe. They played it safe, and it's a good start. And thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Back to you, bro.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this particular panel discussion. It was short but relevant. We will do the next panel discussion of the next sets of evaluator and speaker, which will be a bit longer. And then after we adjourn the meeting, if there's time and if the guests are interested, we will continue this conversation after the adjournment, because we want to release people who really want to go home and so on. But if those who really want to learn, we'll continue this conversation. And for members, there'll be a deeper conversation happening on our training day sessions, which is not open to the guests. And that will happen as well on Tuesday. So I hope Rozy and Vinod can attend on Tuesday for a deeper conversation on this for our members' benefit. Thank you all, and we'll move on to the next section, which is, I believe, is our next speaker, speaker number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker number 2 is Nellie Jen Galido. Is she here in the room? And please spotlight Nellie Jen for me. Hello, Nellie. How are you? How's Philippines, right? How's Philippines? No tsunamis today?
No, just yesterday and the other day. But if we've had an upgrade like 10 minutes ago, it's been something.
Stay safe. And I think if you can move your microphone in a way so that we can hear you a bit better would be great. Thank you very much. Nellie is a brand new member of Leadership Speak, just about a month, and a very dedicated member of Leadership Speak. She's also the president in her home club back in Philippines as well. Are you ready, Nellie? All good to go? All right. Nellie Jen Galido, how far we'll go, how far we will go. Nellie Jen Galido, over to you.
Remember, it wasn't hunger, it wasn't rain. It was a war, a wild, infinite, and merciless. That noon, the Titan Highland took our town. I can't see the clearness in the room, praying the wind would spare what it could spend. But after now, everything was the roof gone, the clothes gone, my favorite books, everything was flowing through the air. And what was left was a cemented frame in our house.
Nelly, sorry interfering. Your voice is not clear.
Those ruins, something else touches my eye. Can you guess what it is?
Your voice is not clear.
Across this muddy ground with bits of plastics, the wrappers from the trees with a series of shambles, a full of bags twisted around benches, empty bottles bubbling in the bucket-flooded water. And beyond that, there was a tiny stream of yellow water trickled down from the mountain. And that water is poisoned by chemicals in small-scale mining in the nearby sites. And for the first time, since the storm has stripped away everything in my town, I could stray straight to the mountain behind our house. Still there, stood, but bare, naked. The trees that once clothed were now so naked. It is only a few standing ones that I could count them. Now, as I look at the mountain, it was really devastated, like the earth itself has been skinned alive. And then I asked myself, what happened? Or maybe the question is that, seeing all these garbages and little plates, was everything fine? Fellow Toastmasters, I'm sorry, honorable guests, the Typhoon Haiyan It wasn't just a story. It was a message, a warning, a reminder that when the nature speaks to us, we cannot and we must not ignore her. But the sad truth is, most of us still do. Well, according to the United Nations reports, climate disasters have doubled over the last 20 years, and every year, more than 20 million people lost their homes from the storms, the floods, the rising water. And the Philippines, my home, is ranked as one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. I've seen it with my own hands. We've lived it. Yet, as a world, we still continue to mine, to consume, to throw away everything as if there's another planet that is waiting for us. After that typhoon, after that realization of the damages and the wreckage struck me, I made a promise to myself. The promise that I would never be same again. And so I started small. I began joining the coastal cleanups. I teach my students how to reuse, to reduce, to recycle. I plant trees and I even heated up tree planting programs during the effort. And last years, for 2 years now, I help our community build a small garden near a town hall, and we call it Hardin ng Pag-asa, or the Garden of Hope, where we planted vegetables, herbs, and native trees. And every plant, every leaf there in that garden reminds me that change starts with the hands. My hands, your hands. If we reach out to care. But I know one person alone cannot fix the world entirely. But together we can. So now I'm here to ask you, what can you do today to make a difference? What can you do today to make a difference? Maybe you can start with one thing at a time. Maybe you can plant one tree, saying no to the single-use plastic. Maybe you can bring your own bag when you go to the market. You can bike, you can walk, you can do carpool. You can turn off the light when you leave the room. And you can teach others, the children, to love the earth, because when we teach them, they maybe teach them more. And you can speak up with hope, with courage to everyone to do something for the earth. Because, every voice matters, and every plastic bottles and reused, every seed that you planted, every lesson you chose to talk to others matters. Because 5 years has passed. When I look at that exact mountain now, I see the green again. Life has returned to my town. The birds have begun nesting, they were chirping, this air smells cleaner. Sometimes when it rains, just like now, it rains hard, I still get scared. But I also listen. The sound of the rain on my roof, the roof we built, reminds me that nature is not our enemy. She is a mirror. She reflects what we take and what we give. And until then, fellow Toastmasters and our guests, let's keep going. Let's keep caring. And we're doing that. Let's see together how far we'll go. Back to you, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. That's all right, Rozy. Thank you, Nelly. And if you can spotlight Brahm first, Mr. Paramjit, thank you very much. And of course, begin to put the evaluators in the breakout room, and I will call on Rozy again to come and do her part. So over to you, Rozy.
Thank you very much, Brahm, and I'm not yet there.
You know, Paramjit is juggling a lot of balls in the air right
Absolutely.
now. That's what it is. Thank you, Paramjit.
And he's doing a superb job at it. Absolutely.
Is. Over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Nellie Jane. And we appreciate you also putting yourself there for greater learning, to grow as a speaker as you are prepared to receive 5 evaluations. Having been through the first session, I believe we will go even deeper. Lydia, may I ask you to give the evaluators 4 minutes from now? Thank you. As everyone in the room has seen, the first round was really provoked thought from all the evaluators as well as the panelists as we tried to analyze. And this is a different structure, so we're all working around how to make sure that this meeting and the contents and the nuggets are most meaningful for every single one in the room. Today, I'm hoping that in the second segment, the evaluations will stretch us even further. We may have had sound challenges, but that's all part and parcel of growing and learning. And we will see what the evaluators come up with in the process. So again, for everyone in the room, the framework will be the same. We will have 5 evaluators come as soon as Lydia confirms the time has been exhausted. We will be looking out, or each evaluator will be evaluating the speaker on various elements. And as we discuss the evaluations, so please note them, we will be looking for the different elements, whether a takeaway message from Nellie Jane as our speaker was clear, what kind of speech it was, whether it was inspirational, persuasive, entertaining, or otherwise, whether the core message was captured throughout the speech, whether it was aligned, whether there was a clear structure in opening, good points or solid points, whether there was evidence, whether there was a call to action, whether the content and the transition spoke to you, resonated, how her delivery was, the visuals, the vocals, the body language, the actual use of language, whether it enhanced the message. So all are elements that we hope our evaluators will bring out and will give feedback to our speaker to take her to the next level, because it is through evaluations that we uplift a speaker. At Leadership Speak, we don't evaluate to impress. We evaluate to uplift a speaker in their journey. I can't see the green, so we just have a little more time. So let's hope that the evaluators give us adequate feedback. Fellow Toastmasters, each one of you take your notes down and feel free to give your comments. And for the guests, we do thrive on your feedback. Today is a very, very different meeting, as you can see. Please fill out the form which has just been posted on the chat. It's very important we hear from you. If you wish to join, put it out so that one of our members can contact you and guide you on joining. This is a club that truly grows and elevates our learning, as you can see today. Thank you. With the yellow there, I will ask Paramjit ji to please bring in our first evaluator for this segment. And our first evaluator for this segment will be Irene Asimina. I shall try that last name, Stamatoupoulou. I should have learned it even before
Stamatoupoulou.
today. Thank you. Thank you, Brahm. Pramjit, is Eirini in the room?
No, not yet. I have moved her to main session, but still not joined. Send a message also. Yeah.
No problem. We are so grateful for your expertise. The first segment went flawlessly as far as taking people in and out of the room, the breakout room and into the main room transpired, and I have full confidence, so will this one. Do let
Thank
me
you
know
very
when.
much.
Thank you. Do let me know when Eirini is in the room. And every speaker now will be evaluating the speech, How Far We Will Go by Nellie Jane. Yeah. And my only comment will be to thank them until the panel session. Great. Welcome, Eirini.
Hello, Rozy.
Hello. I hope you are well and prepared.
Well, I'm doing well. And I had a very challenging hearing of Nellie Jane. I enabled captions, but still with captions on, I could see only irrelevant words popping up in the captions. So we had a discussion along with other evaluators in the waiting room. So I would like to ask you if you want us to proceed, because it is our common belief, I believe, that it is not fair to proceed because we cannot provide a useful evaluation to Nellie Jane.
Thank you, Eirini. I appreciate that all of you discussed this and you are on the same page. So with that in mind, I think it's fine because even discussing the sound is part and parcel of the evaluation. Just say what you feel you can offer in terms of value or otherwise. And it's absolutely in order to give that constructive comment to Nellie Jane as well. So can I ask you to proceed, Eirini?
Sure, Rozy. Please consider that my evaluation will be choppy and not as I would like to deliver for today.
No worries.
So, first
Over
of
to
all,
you.
Nellie Jane, dear fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, my takeaway from Nellie Jane's speech was that we need all to do whatever we can in order to protect our Earth. Her speech was mainly to action in terms of protecting the Earth, doing our best, even planting trees or collecting garbages or even taking bigger actions. Nellie Jane spoke with enthusiasm, but it was really challenging for us to hear what she was saying most of the time during her speech. Her poses were powerful, but I had also the feeling that at that time of the pause, someone could reach her and do something to improve her voice. The theme of the speech, the title, How Far Can We Go, was powerful. And I would like to have some more clear evidence or facts about the improvement we have achieved so far, even though the climate change is strong, but still we have achieved, for instance, reducing emissions from certain activities, at least at a little percentage, like driving a hybrid car or using more responsibly the resources for some industries. That fact could have enriched the message of Nellie Jane. Apart from that, regarding the structure, I have no many comments because I completely lost the beginning of her speech. I can recall some things from the training we did last Tuesday, And I really encourage practicing our sound, doing a sound check prior delivering a speech in our club. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Irene. I'm very confident that Nellie Jane has received valuable feedback from you, even though I do acknowledge your earlier concerns on delivering this evaluation. Paramjit is our second evaluator in the room. The second evaluator is Nicole Whyte. Oh, great. She is here in front of me. Brilliant. Nicole, we are all aware of the discussion in your breakout room, but we will ask you to please proceed and evaluate Nellie Jane's speech, how far we will go. We understand that sound was a problem, but please proceed with your evaluation of Nellie Jane's speech, how far we will go. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator Rozy. Nellie Jane, how far will we go? You delivered an informative speech. The takeaway, together we can do what we can to make a difference. Your content did demonstrate your strong conviction about how you feel regarding the environment and planet Earth. No need to repeat the issues we had at the beginning. Let me jump straight into some area that I thought you excelled at from the most of what I captured. Your speech title aligned with your message, and at appropriate intervals, you used your vocal variety effectively. Second, the structure of your points, for some of the what I got, they were clear. I heard clear built up and the storytelling weaved in to bring them out. So for the few minutes, I did hear some logical flow in your thoughts and getting your message across to the audience. Some area of recommendations, I'm sure we all gonna say, your tech was an issue. So to heighten your impact further, consider practicing your speech. Every time you're going to deliver a speech or presentation, practice using the technology that you plan on embarking with on the day of your presentation. So in this example, perhaps that speaker or whatever you're using, that headphone, would have alerted you to know that when you play your recording, you would have heard from your end that it was not clear. So I would say work on your technology. And there's also an opportunity to enhance your facial expression during different intervals in your speech. So work on that when you're building up your story to get the audience buy-in. So overall, you already demonstrate that you have the ability to deliver quality presentation and speeches. And you are mindful of your speech title, your call to action for the audience takeaway, getting our audience buy-in. Well done. If you just work on your technology to ace your Zoom presence, you will continue to do great things. Thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Nicole, for that insightful evaluation. I would now like to invite our third evaluator, who is Wahiga Gichinga. Wahiga Gichinga, if she's in the room, can be spotlighted. Brilliant. Excellent. Wahiga, we are aware that you all had a discussion and you were wondering whether it was of value or not to evaluate the speaker. We would like you to proceed with the evaluation despite the sound challenges. So please proceed and evaluate Nellie Jane's speech, how far we will go, how far we will go. Over to you, Wahiga Gichinga, for an evaluation.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Nature is a mirror of what we put into it. that came out so loudly in what I was able to hear from the conversation that Nellie Jane had. And I was challenged on what I could do to contribute to good climate. What a good speech it is, especially at a time now when the world is having the side effects of climate change. So it's a relevant speech to all of us, so that it calling all of us to think through our actions every day on what we can do with our contribution to that equation. What stood out for me was credibility. One, from a personal story, right from her childhood, and her personal resolution to make a contribution to climate change. So another thing is the UN report that she gave, a credible institution that has done some statistics on that particular area of climate, and that also gives credibility to her speech, especially that it is coming from a credible source. She went ahead to tell us, as much as she's convicted about climate change, what she's doing. And she started a few things like planting trees, what she's teaching her students, and that sold the aspect of us going out there and doing the same, because she not only is talking about it, but she's doing something about climate change. She had very good vocal variety, especially when she was emphasizing a point. And she was more clear, especially at that point, because she was loud. So we could hear her more. And she's so passionate about this topic. An area of improvement, I know it has been mentioned, it's out for clarity, but from the way she presented herself, her presence, and the conviction she had on this topic, I feel her on climate change. A great call to action for us to be conscious of our climate and our actions and the impact they have on climate, and keep speaking and keep doing something, Nellie Jane, about the climate of the world. Back to you, Madam G.
Thank you very much, Wahiga, for your extremely insightful evaluation. Our next evaluator will be Buhari A Zayyad. Is Buhari in the room?
Still not.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, as he's coming, it is wonderful how everyone's able to pick so many elements, even as there appeared to be challenges with the sound, and give very insightful feedback to our speaker. Very useful and helpful feedback. Paramjit, as and when Buhari comes, just so that I can stop talking, you can spotlight him immediately, because I will simply continue engaging the audience or engaging. He's in. Okay, so I won't. Thank you. Welcome, Buhari.
Thank you so much, Rozy.
Yes. Buhari, just as I have said to the prior evaluators, we are aware of your conversation in the breakout room, but we have determined you will proceed and evaluate the speaker. So please proceed with your evaluation of Nellie Jane's speech, How Far We Will Go. How far we will go to be evaluated by Buhari A Zayyad. Over to you, Buhari.
Thank you so much, Rozy. And a warm good afternoon to you, Nellie Jane. A speech titled, How Far We Will Go. Your passion on this subject matter is evident, especially in the whole part of your speech. Your facial expression showed a lot of emotions and conveyed that to prove how passionate you are about. One of the major takeaways that I would say I had during your speech was your call to action that showed a persuasion of you trying to uplift the minds and intentionality of your audience in reviving the earth in terms of the entire climate ecosystem. Your Zoom presence is one of the key things I would say that has elevated your speech, especially that we were able to see part of your facial expressions where you talked about how the climate has affected you. And we also saw some of your hand gestures, especially in that part of your speech where you talked about using your hands and even the audience. Your good gestures were prominent in your facial expressions, like I said, especially in that part of your speech where you said, I made a promise to myself. I could see your finger pointing at your face. That I find very outstanding. What will I recommend for you to uplift your speech from where it is to even a better one is, firstly, I would want you to double check your audio, especially if, as we are in the virtual meeting, we know that any hitches that we face in hearing you clearly would affect the mindset of the audience with keen attention to what you are saying. It will really affect the active listening part of any audience. Secondly, you made a mention of a quote from the United Nations. As an advanced speaker as you are, Toastmaster Nelly, I would have loved you to give the precise and exact report you were talking about, because you just made a generic statement, the UN report on climate change, on food security, and which year was it published. That will give the audience more call to action to even go further to check for themselves. And along the way, I realized that the story you gave, the call to action you had, didn't really go in line with your speech title. So I would encourage you to have a fantastic speech title that goes directly to talk about where you want your audience to be. In closing, I would say that you are an excellent and passionate speaker, Toastmaster Nelly. I have seen that times without number, and especially in your speech today. I would say that by incorporating your clear message from your speech title, incorporating more personal stories into what you do, will elevate your speech to an advanced master speech that your audience will take away to make the world a better place through climate change. Thank you so much, and back to you, Rozy.
Thank you very, very much, Toastmaster Buhari, for that very, very insightful evaluation. Now we have our final evaluator for this segment, who is Jyothi Thomas. And I see that Jyothi is also already in the room, though her video is yet to come on. Brilliant. Welcome, Jyothi. And as I will just preface it, as I did with all the other evaluators, we are well aware that you had some challenges on sound and you were discussing that you should forego the evaluation. We have determined you will proceed, evaluate best based on the speech that you heard, and that could be a recommendation. So please proceed and evaluate Nellie Jane's speech, How Far We Will Go. How far we will go to be evaluated by Jyothi Thomas. Over to you.
Before I start, can you check if my audio is clear, please?
Very clear. We
Thank
can
you
hear
very much.
you perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you. Timer, can you just check? Thank you.
Yeah. Please change your red. Thank you, Jyothi, for pointing that out to the timekeeper. Perfect.
Nelly, my takeaway from your speech clearly was love nature, restore and protect. It wasn't about just preaching. You clearly said what you've gone through. Call to action almost aligned closely to the title. What can we do today to make a difference? You did not say about saving, but I think I heard as why it matters. You use data, 20 years and 20 million people. I think when we use data, it's very grounding. It looks like you've truly researched And also you spoke about the turbulent weather conditions where you come from. So that clearly connected to it, and I could empathize with it. Vivid imagery, like what we always say, when you mention the descriptive landscape, the nature, birds chirping, you had a happy face, all that makes us feel really good too and connected me to your speech. These are the few things which I thought really stood out. My observations, if you would like to consider, please. The challenge of the audio. If we do have such difficulties in terms of the audio, maybe it'll be a good idea if you can stop at the beginning and ask if everybody's able to hear clearly and wait and check if there's something coming up, because all of us started writing on the group to say that we needed some support. But I do understand you probably were so completely into your speech and you did not do that. The other recommendation, you used, what can we do? The same statement, if you had repeated with a pause, you would have given us time to even recollect what we didn't hear, and we would have somewhere summarized everything. Though the voice was choppy, these are the few things I was able to connect. So in summary, Nelly, with whatever I got, I loved the imagery, the way you started off. It showed clearly that you love nature and how important it is. I heard something very interesting. I got part of it. Every voice, every seed, every lesson matters. And I think that came loud and I lost a lot in between. Overall, thank you for the inspiration of taking care of Mother Earth. And you said, love nature. With that, is what I could get within whatever I could hear from your speech. Thank you very much. And indeed, it was something for us to give back to Mother Nature. Over to the Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jyothi, for your very insightful evaluation. Fellow Toastmasters, we have come to the end of the second segment of Evaluators, and we are now ready for the panel evaluation where we will discuss these evaluations. So I request the Zoom master to spotlight Perfect, Brahm, Memone, our trainer, and Vinod Panikar, our co-panelist as well. Brilliant.
Well, here we are. Thank you all. This one is 15 minutes long, Madam Timer. So we will look at what the evaluation was over here, how well they did. And of course, the audio was the key thing that we all know. And then we will summarize to all the evaluations together as to what really our club needs to focus on to go to the next level. And then we'll continue this conversation after we have adjourned for those who want to remain and discuss more, for those who have time. So over to you first. Overall, one quick about the speaker, Vinod and Rozy.
Thank you. I love Nellie Jane's soft, cordial, warm, pleasant voice that she delivers. You just have this endearingness towards her. And she spoke passionately about her topic. Like you said, audio was a problem, but everyone was able to take away elements. Yes. Vinod?
Vinod?
Yeah, so for me, the speakers, the evaluators actually proved why our club is Leadership Speak. They showed the leadership quality actually today by speaking up. For me, the speech was a complete speech. I will tell you why. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but the journey still remains of 1,000 miles. Nellie's title was, we have to travel 1,000 miles and we have to start today. If you think in that aspect, so it's a very powerfully, like what you say, constructed speech to me. And the other thing that stood out was she could have taken this speech to a next level where she mentioned about single-use plastic bags usage, switching off light, teaching children. I believe that's a 1-hour keynote speech and she could be paid for this if she had just taken one point and spoken about it. So these were the two things as a speaker which stood out for me.
Awesome. My take on the speaker is that she is very much into climate change, and especially where she is in the country that she is in, it gets affected by climate change. And we all, 8 billion of us, are on the team of making sure the climate change doesn't happen. Though she didn't quite say that in those words, but this is what I got from that. And so, as Rozy said, she loved her presence, but I would say she excels at her presence and how she presents herself. Of course, the sound is the problem, which we mentioned as well on Tuesday. So Nelly, after this session, over the weekend or whatever, or and before Tuesday or on Tuesday, get together with Paramjit. He's our technology master for the sound. Having said that, let's go on to the evaluations itself and pick one evaluator and then another, whatever, and let's see what how well they did and what they can improve. So over to you, Rozy, first.
Thanks. Before I pick on any single one, I want to point out the fact, like the generalization, that it was really impressive to see that there was some concerns, that there was nervousness, the evaluators were challenged because of the audio. The evaluators had even discussed that they would not come, and that's why I prefaced every single one so they don't start kind of having the ping pong with me as to we don't think there's value in giving this feedback or whatever. Maybe the first one got away, but I prevented anyone else saying that. Yet they picked elements from the speech which were very, very specific. They picked sentences which goes to show that there were things that the speaker said that were poignant and stood out. And every single one of them did that. So I just wanted to comment on the general feel that despite the observations, and this
Yes.
points out that at Leadership Speak, we did apply our critical thinking hats and spoke despite the challenge of hearing. So we were observing a lot. Moving on to, like you asked me to speak on individual speakers, I felt that, okay, and it started, Irene and Nicole showed that nervousness as they came in, should we evaluate? And I was like, okay, you must. And there was a bit of concern, but they gave good recommendations. They were able to point they picked the key message. Everyone picked the key message on the environment. When Wahiga came, Wahiga somehow came with punch. Maybe she realized sitting in that breakout room that they must be evaluating. They've taken so long. I have no idea what happened, but she came knowing she was evaluating. The other two possibly came thinking they might not have to evaluate. I'm not sure. But they were able to pick the core message. They got the fact that she had some research in the message. They got the fact that she had discussed a UN whatever. And in fact, Buhari even pointed out that the title was a mismatch, which means he has really heard all of it. Although in that area, I would have liked Buhari to give a recommendation rather than just say it was a mismatch. So yeah, everyone spoke about the elements that Nelly had brought out on this profound topic of climate change, which we are all affected on. Let me not usurp the whole topic. So over to you, Vinod.
Vinod, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, you did an amazing job, Rozy. Effective job of managing the session, I would say.
You all get caught up there.
Yeah. So I will just give a general thing that usually in evaluation, I only look for point of improvement. In a normal this thing, I never, whatever good people as evaluators speak, I don't look into it much because feedback is developmental. So what is it that I have to do for the next speech that I need to do? So that one is sound which was very clear. I liked what Buhari said, because being a debater, for me, if you give a claim, the evidence should be very clear that this year, this many people, and there were a lot of opportunities for evidence for others also. Jyothi mentioned the call to action. What can you do today? That was also clear. So when you do something with half heart, like what you say, it like whether I have to do this, you have to do that. So then you get back to your original old thinking. That is what happened over here, I feel. I've being a contestant, I have heard she was actually very passionate, conviction, like it's a relevant, pressing social issue. And we could see she wants to share the message with the world. I have seen speaker like you will sleep in 7 minutes for 2 hours, and we had to evaluate that in a contest. So I was very okay with that, even if I heard 2 lines. But I felt all the evaluators did try to push, at least 3 of them did try to push themselves and look for the good. So that was effective, I feel, Brahm.
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. Did I say? Now, here's the thing about Jyothi's evaluation. She excelled at how she began her evaluation in terms of Nelly made, the takeaway, the love of nature, and so on. That was her takeaway. And then she also mentioned what the CTA is. That's how she began her evaluation, which we had recommended that do. It was a recommendation. She used the recommendation. And then she said, you used data, and you gave us evidence. But evidence was not clear as from where. 20 million people, from where? What source? Quote the source. And so it is with Buhari as well. Quote the source, right? And so on. The other thing is, if I look at really Buhari's presentation here, is the first little bit was just fluff. Good afternoon. This was your speech title. Your passion is evident. How passionate you are was not all fluff. We don't need that in an evaluation at all at an advanced level. That's the community level evaluation, Buhari. So, and I know that you're here as a good learner. You're taking this all to heart, really, rather than anything else. And then you also mentioned, I would have loved you to, and give more evidence and so on. So those are a lot of things which are more starting out evaluations at the starter package level, but we are moving towards advanced level. So that's why you are in this training, and you will pick it up as we go along. So those are some of the overall things I noticed. Now, here's the thing that I always, in this training, I didn't focus on that because otherwise it would have been a bit longer. But very quickly, when an evaluator comes to evaluate, they should put aside their disposition, their likes and dislikes or whatever, distractions, whatever, and focus on the speaker, which means sound, no sound, video, whatever it is. You cannot say we've decided not to evaluate. You cannot do that. You have to go with what you have and lift the speaker. That is a tact that, of course, we all need to get to that place. We begin with, oh my goodness, and I said, I can't listen. I don't know what the speaker is saying, but I got the gist of climate change and how rain and thunder talks to us, and how there's always, things are being destroyed, but what we can do that one little thing. I got those, I wrote those down, right? And now 5 years later, I got that, right? So it was there. Birds are chirping. I looked at the mountain. I got that. So out of that, we did have a few evaluators that really went out of the way and put aside the disposition, the dislikes, their own emotional, whatever it was there, and became present to the speaker. So that's very important. What about you guys? What do you think?
I agree with you, Brahm. And what I think one thing that truly stood out now that and maybe this because it started with shall I call it a fault, an audio problem. And what truly stood out here is when they evaluated, we went to really get onto the point that evaluation is not just about fault finding. They could be, but it's about how do we build this speaker for the future? Can we think forward, and can we find those elements? So that really stood out for me today. Yeah.
Vinod?
Yeah, exactly. I would second what Rozy said. But for me, 7 years ago, there was a general evaluator who came to our club, and a speaker was giving his icebreaker. He stood there and froze and stood there for 5 minutes and said something and went. But the general evaluator, after evaluating the evaluator, evaluated the speech. It was so nice that I will never forget that in my life. He said, the biggest fear in this world is glossophobia, like fear of public speaking. You had that courage to stand in front of 40 people today. And that itself, I felt was very promising. Like what you said, it gives, I want to speak the next time. So for me, it is okay. Even if I hear one line, I will say something, cook up stories. That is what our speakers did. The first speaker, I think, thought our general evaluator, she could be able to persuade her to stop this. But Rozy very nicely, like what you said, let's continue. So there's something we learned today. We all of us learned today. And thank you very much to all the evaluators who spoke for 3 minutes.
Great learning opportunity, of course, because of what happened, indeed. And one of the things that I'm noticing is that, the format that we gave them, this is where you excelled at. These are your strengths. Here's where to improve. And give an example in each of them was missing in a generally overall in the whole evaluations, right? This is just summarizing everything, all the 10 evaluators and everything. This is where we really need to build our evaluators at the next level. And so this training is the basis for that. We're all learning. I'm still learning how to evaluate. What are your thoughts, Rozy and Vinod?
I think it's a journey. I think it will take time because I repeat in a way what I said at in my first session, that everyone has this workbook and they're trying now to put away their natural style of evaluation, because we all have a style we come with, and we were trying to make sure, okay, have I handled this part that Brahm suggested we should do, or this part that the trainer wanted? So I think it takes time. So everyone, I know you said you didn't feel they followed it, but I feel everyone started with the first one very well. Maybe the rest mix, but the first point on the takeaway, everyone definitely did start with that. But it will be a journey, and as we keep doing this, I'm sure there'll be progress. Yeah.
Absolutely. Vinod?
Yes, habits, I would say, like we all are, like what you said, human beings are creatures of habit. So we have this particular habit of saying thank you and all. Even I have the same thing. It will take time. So one thing, the workbook was like in a linear way. This. I think Brahm, you think like an engineer, like what you say, tuck, tuck, tuck. Holmes also is something similar. Like you're all like tuck, tuck, tuck. So do something creative, like what you say, make boxes where we can write takeaway. This is the takeaway. Write structure, opening, body, closing, which was this. Something visually to which can be easy to just fill in the workbook so that we can visualize and do something. That was one thing which I thought, because there are a lot of things to be done in this. So I felt the workbook was very extensive to the evaluators. They will get back. The takeaway was very simple. Now let's go to the structure. Something in that way would be helpful the second time. Back to you.
Wonderful. And we have the red light on. I think, is it the 15-minute red light, Lydia?
Wow.
Because we had 15 minutes. Looks like it only went 10 minutes. Okay, anyways, so our time is up. I would ask all the guests to sign in the guest book. Helene, if you can put the link in there for our guests, now that we've done major part of our work in what we are all about and where we are headed. And even by other standards as well, our evaluators did much better than they would in a community club anyways, to reiterate that. But we are taking to the really the advanced level. So this is almost like an intermediate level. And that's why we had evaluators who are beginning the journey in leadership speak, some of them a little bit further up, rather than initially, Vinod was one of the evaluators. I said, Vinod, can you step back? You don't need to be an evaluator in this particular session as a main evaluator. You just be on my panel and so on. And even Tony Breshett, I said, step back. Let's have some other new evaluators on so that they can learn. So this was really creating a learning environment for our evaluators and our club. And this particular meeting will be one of those benchmark meetings for our newer members as we go along. Thank you all. Rozy, this is all yours to finish off your GE, and then I'll come back.
Thank you. Thank you very much to every one of you. This meeting has been unusual, exciting, successful, and truly insightful. I think it has really affirmed to me what I've always felt, which is that the magic of Toastmasters, I mean, there's so many things, and they say that the magic happens in a club, but the magic, the real magic is in that constructive feedback we get on how to improve, how to get better, how to uplift ourselves, and how to move to the next level. So thank you. I want to commend, I mean, I'm not so sure that I should be, this is part and parcel of today's meeting, which was special, but I have to commend Brahm particularly for the preparation that went in the background. He knew today's meeting was meant to be a training session. And oh my God, I don't know when he started. It could have been a month earlier, the handouts we got, the tips we got, and each time he kept on building on the last handout. I mean, I have read a few, I have seen the workbooks, and the amount of investment or the time investment he has put in this just to improve us, to help us, is not only commendable, but it needs to be applauded and appreciated by every one of us here at Leadership Speak. So thank you, Brahm. I see that you are spotlighted already with me, but today's session has been hugely successful by all role players, but largely that preparation and that guidance and direction that you gave us in advance, because there was no doubt about how we were meant to run this meeting today. I want to also commend Sonja for taking two roles, both a toast, which was not evaluated, as well as being an evaluator. And she made sure she incorporated the theme extremely well. Paramjit, my good Lord, superb at what you did. I couldn't have had a better Zoom master, a better SAA, a better person than you to make sure that things were moving seamlessly. And I really didn't need fillers to keep it going. So congratulations to every one of you. How can we improve? I think this is a journey. It's going to keep going. And the more we do it, the better we will get at it. I think that concludes my general evaluation. I believe a lot of evaluations have been given. So I'll pass the meeting back to our trainer, come Toastmaster of the day. Over to you, Brahm, even as I thank every single one, and particularly Vinod also, my co-panelist, over and above the evaluators and speakers. Thank you. Over to you, Brahm.
Thank you, Rozy. And with that, we have still a few people here. We'll launch a poll for you to see where you are at now. Mr. Zoom Master, if you can launch the poll, and we'll go through this very quickly because we are way over time. We normally get excited when we are doing training, so we go over time here. But those who are sticking around, there you go. Here's the poll. Let us know, after today's training, what will you focus on most in your evaluation? Strong structure, flow, clear audience takeaway, purposeful construction, transition, uplifting, growth-focused feedback. What is it? Of course, you probably have several, you'll probably say all of them, but what is the one critical thing that you learned? Is this what this question is really designed for? What is the critical thing that you learned as an audience here today for your takeaway that you will be using? And then, of course, building on it. This video will be posted, it's been streamed to YouTube, so it's already there. And you can watch it as soon as you get out of this meeting and go and watch it again. You will be also, another copy will be posted in a couple of days' time, as well, uploaded as well in our YouTube channel. Look for Leadership Speak, you'll find our YouTube channel. Thank you all. Paramjit, what's the result here for our poll?
Uplifting growth focused feedback is 13 people. And clear audience takeaway 6. I'll just share it also.
Yeah, please share the results. Uplifting growth focused feedback, perfect. Okay, so that's what most of them chose. Strong structure and flow 3. Clear audience takeaway 6. Purposeful construction and transitions 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest if you want to become a very good evaluator, begin by thinking what's in it for the audience, what's in it for me, what did I take away? As an advanced, of course, speaker evaluator in an advanced club, this is what we think, because in the real world, that is what you would do. We are not starting out how to speak. So what is my takeaway? What did I do well here? What did the speaker do well here? And how can I give them feedback? Where did they excel? What are their strengths? Not I liked, or you know, we sometimes evaluators suggest on, could you incorporate that so that I get more information? No. This is the presentation where they excelled, where they can get better, and if there was fluff in it, you know, where they can eliminate stuff that wasn't really necessary, and what that was, right? So those are the things that we will be looking for in our future evaluations at the club. If you want to be a member, please sign into the guest book. Haleen will post the guest book one last time, and now I give this back, not back, but now I give this to our President Holmes.
Thank you to our trainer, our panelists, our speakers, and of course, our evaluators for bringing us through this training. This segment, I'd like to speak to the most important people in every single Leadership Speak meeting, the guest. Guest, I'll start off with those of you who have signed on with the guest book, and shortly also call some of you who are still around. Marie Michelle St. Louis, are you available to give us some of your feedback? Marie?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Marie-Michelle St-Louis from District 81, Division D, Specially 80. I'm the actual president for Amethyst Toastmasters Club, which is an English club. Has been invited by Toastmaster Hughes Lee Joseph. I don't know if she is in the room. It was a great session. I learned a lot. Unfortunately, I could not open my camera because I'm at work. I listen carefully every details that I learn, and I will practice them because I would like to improve my evaluation feedback, because it is very important for all Toastmasters to give constructive feedback, and I learn a lot. Thank you so much. I hope I will visit again and more. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Marie. I see that you have also indicated that you are interested in exploring to find out more about the club and explore joining. One of the EXCO members will definitely reach out to you. Thank you so much, Marie. Bernarde Giddings, are you available to give us some feedback? Chris Mogaka, sorry. Chris Mogaka.
Yes, I am available, but I won't be able to turn on my camera for now. I'm still at work, and I was logged in, and I work with car batteries, so I'm dirty and I had to wipe my hands so that I could talk. So let me introduce myself. I'm from Kenya, Mombasa County, that is Division D114, District D14, okay, D114, Division B, Area 9, and we coined it Pwani Area 9. And I happen to be the Public Relations Manager. So a friend of mine told me that Leadership Speak is the Harvard of Toastmasters. So I was very curious to come and experience it. And truly, yes, I have. So my takeaway from this meeting, it was mentioned. I was distracted, but maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that as an evaluator, when you're evaluating, you don't evaluate the content, but the delivery of the speech. Well, you'll correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that is something that I have understood in a different perspective, and it has also elevated or enhanced my understanding on evaluation. Given that also we are planning the club contest, which is coming, and evaluation is one of the contests we shall be having, and also the diversity in the room. It helps me to understand how to, we have our own strengths and also our areas of improvement. So I'm able to pick from how the speech are being delivered and also how the evaluation is being done. So thank you so much. It has been really incisive for me to learn by observing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. A quick response to one of your earlier questions. I would encourage you to think from the perspective that the evaluator, except for the contest, in a typical setting, the evaluator is a partner of the speaker. So from this perspective, then examine if content is one of the things that would be most helpful to talk about to help the speaker be able to deliver the message more effectively. Think from that perspective. Thank you so much, Chris. In lieu of time, maybe I'll just call upon one or at most two, and then I'll try to adjourn the meeting. Craig Curtis, are you available to speak? I'll just quickly run on. Hope Okni.
Hello.
Hey, Hope, how do you find the meeting for yourself?
Well, the meeting has been very, very inspiring. This is not the first time I have joined these meetings. Today, I'm actually joining it from Toronto, which is wonderful. And so I've had a good time just taking time to listen to it. When I'm back home, where my club is in Uganda, I'm a member of Mienga Toastmasters. We join it at a later time. So this has been wonderful. But back to my experience today, evaluation has always been one of the areas that I have challenges in. How do I introduce? What is it to focus on? So today's session was a real learning opportunity, an opportunity to grow into evaluation and do it differently. Like the previous speaker said, sometimes we focus on the speaker and not the speech. So today there was a lot that I've picked up, and I'm really glad that I have joined this meeting. Thank you so much for the different speeches, the evaluation, the learning by Brahm. And Brahm, you have done such a good job. You did it in a very calm way. You took time to, I could see that this is something that you have put in a lot of effort to bring out the message for us, for those of us who are really taking this as our next step in how to be a better evaluator. So this was a wonderful session. I am glad that I joined, and thank you so much for everything. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Hope. In lieu of time, I'd like to hand back to Brahm for some final comments, and we adjourn the official training session. But members and guests, we will still continue a post-meeting conversation for those who are interested to converse more about the evaluation today to deepen your learning. Back to you, Brahm.
President Holmes, thank you very much. And thank you for being our president. You are doing an excellent job as the president this year, and really am totally taken by who you are being in our club. Thank you so much, President Holmes. And I do mean it. And he knows how I mean that. I've told him before. But here to summarize my message today, ladies and gentlemen, always about the audience, because we are in an advanced club. We are the next step away from the real world. We tell our speakers that don't make up a speech for Toastmasters. We don't want to hear a speech about Toastmasters. Do a speech that you are most likely to do in the real world. Bring it here in the Toastmasters and do that presentation here. Don't invent something that you're never going to use. You're just going to do it because of what you're doing here, I mean in Toastmasters, that you can do in the community club because you're trying to discover your voice and your gestures and how to put together a speech. Yeah, sure. But after that, when you come here in an advanced club, you won't really do presentations that you will do in the real world. And if you're not, if you're just here for social reasons, perhaps yes. But in this club, it doesn't matter who you are, you're really learning, you're a learner. So to summarize, how the presentation is structured is important for the audience. The conclusion, call to action, which relates to what was the title and how did it open. This is what I want the audience to know at the end. This is why I'm putting together this presentation. I'm passionate about it. Therefore, I will be authenticity, and therefore this particular thing, opening title, and the construction to the conclusion, and of course, level 1 speech number 2. Did you inform, inspire, persuade, entertain? What did you do, and how are you putting that language together with your presentation? This is what we are learning. It is not an easy subject for those who are starting out, but if you stick to it, and all of us, and I'm still learning, we will get much better. Thank you all, especially our evaluators, for putting yourself in these shoes. Those who you haven't been, some of you haven't been a member for too long. And especially thanks to Guerdah and Nellie Jane. Nellie Jane, what can I say? You're just amazing. And Guerdah, of course, my great friend from many years. With that, ladies and gentlemen, this is adjourned and will now open for further discussion. Please switch off the recording and the streaming and everything else, Mr. Master. Having said that,